When the mansion's first scripts were written, the original owners of this haunted riverfront estate were one sea captain with a terrible secret and an innocent 18-year-old beautiful girl. Through mistrust and a terrible fight, both affected their lives and afterlives forever, occupying spots 1 and 2 of what would eventually become a house filled with 999 happy homes. Who were they? And how do their characters keep influencing modern characters such as Constance, Melanie, April, Edward, and the ghost host himself? We will explore the first tragic story of this mansion and how the original attraction was to work here in Stories from the Mansion. Captain Bartholomew Gore, or Captain Bartholomew Roberts, Captain Gore, or Captain Gore, as we will call him henceforth, was a bloodthirsty, murderous pirate known in pirate world as Bartholomew Roberts or Black Bart. After years of plundering, he decided that a pirate's life was no longer for him. He retired with his blood-stained money and purchased a riverfront estate. He tried really hard to look differently, to abandon his pirate ways and adopt some French aristocratic customs to enter society. In one of his many encounters with the wealthy Louisiana aristocracy, he met an 18-year-old woman. Innocent and beautiful, she captivated the captain. After courting her, they become betrothed and plan a wedding at the retired estate. In one of the many scripts during wedding night, the bride ventured to the attic, filled with curiosity. His betrothed allowed her to enter any room of the mansion, with the exception of the attic. The bride, carrying a stolen skeleton key to a forbidden chest, enters this room. There, she finds a chest. She opens it and finds objects that link his betrothed to a life of piracy and murder. Just then, the captain enters the room. They have an agitated fight, and this ends in 2 different ways. In one, the captain throws her out of the window where she falls into a well, or he kills her in that room and locks her body in a chest. As days go by, the captain is haunted by the bride and other ghosts she conjures either with supernatural or voodoo powers and causes his suicide, trapping both of them inside the house. This story comes out of several scripts written by Ken Anderson, about 14 of them, with slight variations in the story you just heard. But let us explore how the Haunted Mansion would have worked in order to better understand these 2 Genesis ghosts. In the 50s, Ken Anderson drew a sketch of the proposed Haunted Mansion to be built in a new square inside of Frontierland called New Orleans Square, with a thematic revolving around pirates. The first floor plan, which is this, shows a walk-through attraction that goes as follows. The first thing a regular guest would have seen is a looming tower in a dilapidated house. From the window at its top, every now and then, a woman would come out screaming, only to be pulled back in by a mysterious hand. Once inside, guests would have climbed the tower stairs, which were originally planned to have electrified handrails for some healthy gags, and would have arrived at the portrait room. Here, in this gallery, you would have seen 3 portraits. On the far left, one of a beautiful lady. On the far right, a handsome red-headed man. In the middle, the 2 as a couple. But suddenly the ladies and gentlemen's portrait would morph in front of your very eyes. Priscilla's would change to show a devious smile. Bartholomew's would change to give us the devil's eye. Behind us, a library shelf would open itself, revealing a secret passageway. Moving along Beauregard, this mansion's live human host would take us to a parlor with a lonely rocking chair. Before our eyes, the chair would have rocked and Priscilla's ghost would have manifested in it. With a ghostly voice, Priscilla explains that during one of his husband's sea voyage, she took a skeleton key from his study and went to open a mysterious chest to see if it would give her any clues to the stories written in his husband's journal. Priscilla would have disappeared. Moving to our next room, we'd find ourselves at Captain Gore's study. Priscilla, with a trembling, ghostly voice, explains us how, after she opened the chest, she found out something terrible about his husband's identity. She then would have screamed. Our next room would have been a hallway, where Beauregard would say Priscilla was never seen alive. Priscilla's ghost appears in the stairs with a clever Pepper's Ghost illusion. The ghost would say, in one of the first floor plans, we would pass through a big window overlooking the sea. Before it, a swamp, where Priscilla would preside a black mass or voodoo ritual awakening the spirits. We would then be rushed to the next room, the captain's bedroom. Beauregard would have said,
after their ghastly night, Captain Gore knew no peace. Every unearthly sound struck terror in his heart, and the last time he was seen on Earth was in this very room.
He would have run away, but there was no place for him to hide, for he knew that I would search for him no matter where he might be, that I would hunt him to the end of his days, where are you, Bartholomew?
This is called the Mystery Room because there is a strange magnetic force that draws you here, as if it had some connection with the mystery of Captain Gore.
In the darkness of the room, we would hear the laments of Priscilla. Beauregard would then say,
Well, that's the end of the story. Some say Priscilla had her revenge, that she drove him mad. Maybe someday we'll know what happened to Captain Bartholomew Gore.
While exiting, we would climb down to the cellar through a ramp. There, half-walled in, we would see a chest with some hair, blood, and clothing coming out of it, while we heard the weeping and laments of the ghost of Priscilla Gore. Well, some would even see her ghostly shadow before exiting. This was the original ride-through, showing much of the personality both characters had. Priscilla would inspire Miss April, the heart-beaten bride, the vengeful Constance, and even the deranged Melanie Ravenswood. Gore, on the other hand, would inspire the ghost host, Master GRACEY, and in some part Henry Ravenswood. In another variation of the ride, the bride was killed accidentally by the butler, who hangs himself after that mistake. The captain's ship sinks in the ocean, and the wedding never occurs. The rest of the ghosts celebrate a wedding that never ends, similar to Phantom Manor's story. In another script, where the bride's corpse remains in the well, the water in here is colored red, while a chilling lullaby about the murder is sang by Priscilla's voice, which echoes from the depths. Many themes in this original mansion also went to the backstory of the Haunted Mansion movie, including the mysterious skeleton key, the chest full of secrets in the attic, and the red-headed owner who used to be a buccaneer that tried to blend in society. In the comics, this character uses the name William GRACEY as a pseudonym to hide his true identity, as Captain Blood. In this version, he is also Master GRACEY from the Morphing Portrait. Madame Leota, out of revenge against this bloodthirsty pirate, summons the pirate's ghost enemies. One of them is a decapitated hatter that lures the captain's bride to the attic and then kills her. In another, he is the powerful ghost who feeds on other ghosts. He curses the Grand Hall, making every ghost that flies on it to lose its memory and celebrate an endless party. He smashes Madame Leota's crystal ball in an attempt to destroy her, but it's eventually beaten down by Constance. In the video game, the pirate makes its appearance in the attic. I always found it odd, but knowing this was the room where he killed himself, well, it all makes sense now. In the original Wax Museum, Captain Gore would have appeared linking the mansion and the pirates ride together. The original owners of this house have sometimes been linked to the GRACEYs, either by making the captain grandfather of the master or by being the master himself. The grandparent possibility is easy to believe since the Gores officially lived in the mansion in 1810, while George and Constance moved in after the Civil War about 50 years later. Be it as it may, these were the first tragic deaths of the mansion, the first concepts, and the starting point of what would become a series of 999 happy haunts and tragic stories from the mansion. If you liked the video, please subscribe. If you have any stories regarding this character, do write them down. Any suggestions of other characters will be taken into consideration. The more they're named, the more priority I'll give to them. This has been all for now. Rest in peace.